and also to give us a better perspective of what the situation is like on the ground. I, a little while back, spoke with a Ukrainian Member of Parliament, Inna Sovsun, and she joined me live from Kiev and gave us an idea as to what life is like in Ukraine since it has come under attack from Russia. Listening to what the Ukrainian Member of Parliament, Inna Sovsun, have to say. Ms. Sovsun, thank you very much indeed for taking time out and speaking to us. We're talking at a very difficult time for the people in Ukraine. Firstly, I hope that you and your family members are all safe. Tell us what it is like living in Ukraine at this point of time.
Thank you for having me. I am, well, fine is the wrong word, but I'm safe, which is good. I'm alive, which is also good at this point of time in Ukrainian history. Well, it is indeed a very difficult situation. The curfew hour has been imposed since 5 in the evening last night. We are 9:30 in the morning today. The curfew will continue up until Monday. So this is this was done in order to make sure that Ukrainian army and territorial defense are able to catch the infiltrators around Kiev. So what is happening right now around Kiev is this. The Russian forces have tried to enter the city from several locations, including mainly from the north. There are major battles taking place about 40 kilometers north of the city. They are trying to enter with tanks, but they have not been successful. Actually, they have lost lots of tanks, and they have lost lots of personnel over there, which are being killed by the Ukrainian army, who is at this point of time much better equipped and much better trained, and what is most important, way more motivated than the Russian soldiers. But apart from entering in big groups from different parts of the city, what they did was that several infiltrators groups were trying to enter the city, so they did. And during the night and the whole day before, Ukrainian army and the territorial defense are volunteers who are just signing up to help in any way possible. They were just riding around the city trying to catch those people. And lots of those infiltrators groups have actually been destroyed as of now, but the curfew hour is being imposed because of the air raid strikes, but also because Ukrainian army needs to make sure that Ukrainians are safe. And those people who are on the streets, that means that they need to be destroyed because those are the Russian infiltrators.
Right.
So the situation as it is right now. So the majority of people in Kiev are staying in shelters, in bomb shelters, in underground stations, and they will stay there till Monday. My personal situation is probably a bit better because I actually moved to my friend's place, and they have a private house, so we can just go to the basement in case of air raid strikes. So I don't have to stay in the shelter the whole time. I can just go downstairs to the basement in case something starts happening. So it is a bit better, and I can continue doing what I am doing right now, is talking to the international audience and trying to explain what the situation actually is.
Now, Ms. Sovsun, people around the world would want to know as to what actually is happening in terms of the city of Kiev, the capital, because the Russian forces, we are given to understand, had been at the gates of Kiev right from the first day when they launched an invasion. Tell us a bit about what life is like in the capital, and how many soldiers, Russian soldiers, do we know have surrounded the city of Kiev? What kind of equipment have they bought? And what are the targets that they've been going after in the capital city?
I wouldn't be able to provide you with the exact number of the Russian troops around Kiev city for two reasons. First of all the information we are getting is very fragmentary. So we are getting pieces of information here and there, but it's the full-scale picture is difficult to grasp, even for us as MPs who do have access to a bit wider information possible. But they're trying to enter the city from several places. So what they did, they were trying to enter in tank convoys from the north, and there were different numbers reported to like 10 tanks convoy up to 70 tanks convoy, but not a single of those big convoys who were able to enter the city actually, because the city borders were protected. There were individual cases of like one single tank entering the city, which was just suicidal mission to begin with, because you cannot invade a 4 million city with a single tank. So obviously that tank was destroyed within like 30 minutes after entering the city. But apparently the Russian command doesn't care about that, because Ukrainian command would never do something like that and just send our soldiers into suicidal mission. But the Russians are doing that. I think they just wanted to show that they did have Russian tanks in Kiev, and they didn't care. They cared about this picture. They cared with being able to say to their Russian audience that you see we have Russian tanks in Kiev. They didn't care about the fact that people in those tanks, the Russian soldiers in those tanks, would have been destroyed, and they were destroyed within half an hour. So they were also trying to enter in a different way. What they are doing is they're targeting military airports around the city. And they were trying to capture Hostomel airport north of the city, and the major battles actually taking place over there. Their plan was that they would capture those, they would capture that airport, and then they would be able to land the planes with troops in that airport, and then those troops would just move into the city. But since they failed to capture the airport, their plan failed. So people living in that area were saying that they are trying, they did see Russian planes circling around the area, but then they just left. So because they realized that they cannot land. One of those planes was actually shot down by Ukrainian counter-air defense. So the number of casualties there is unannounced as of now. At least 150 Russian soldiers in that plane that all died, obviously. So that is the situation as it is right now. They were trying to capture another airport a bit south of the city, in the city of Vasilkiv. Again, they failed to do so. So their initial plan that they will just end, this plan failed, and now the different troops are kind of disorganized, and they're being basically destroyed by the Ukrainian troops, who are much better organized, who understand where they are, what they are protecting. And then they are also very much, Ukrainian army is very much supported by the territorial defense. So the territorial defense is people like volunteers just signing up, saying that, we want to help. And that, on a personal note, it does include my dad, who in the first day of the attack, he took my mom to the west of Ukraine to make sure that she's safe. And my dad is 61 years old. So I was thinking that, probably he will stay there in the west. But then I got a phone call from my mom saying he's coming back to Kiev. Just stop him. So I tried calling my dad, and I said, Dad, why are you coming back? You are 61 years old. You have sick knees, so he doesn't walk very fast. He's walking very slowly. And I said, your knees are sick. You hardly walk. You will not be of much help. Why are you coming back? And he said, I'm going to defend Kiev. I said, Dad, you walk very slowly. What will you do? He said, if I can't walk, I will crawl. And that is the story not just of my dad. That is the story of thousands of Ukrainians who are right now so much involved, who are trying to do their best, who are sign up for territorial defense and getting messages, information from all over the city, with people signing up for those territorial defense units. And right now they're patrolling the city and catching and destroying those infiltrators groups. Because those infiltrators groups, they are preparing the missiles attack. So that they're setting the targets, and all Ukrainians, the whole day yesterday, everyone in Kiev before the curfew hour, they were just walking around and just looking for those signs that those infiltrators put for the missiles attacks. And I think that is something that Putin didn't envision. He was thinking that he will fight against the Ukrainian army, which is 2015 215,000 people, but he's actually fighting against the whole Ukrainian people, and those are 40 million. So everyone is getting involved. Everyone is trying to find themselves useful in any way possible. So that is something that was not part of the plan, and that is why Putin was thinking that he will enter Kiev and take over in one day. That plan failed. And that is why right now the actions of the Russian military are somewhat hysterical. They are bombing the city. We did have lots of explosions during the night around the city. There are major fightings happening in the city of Kharkiv, which is the second biggest city in Ukraine, which is to the east. And actually, it's my native city. So I'm getting lots of text messages from friends over there. They're all sitting in shelters. There are fights taking place on the streets of the city, which is just appalling. Like, this is my native city, and there are people who are shooting there. It's just difficult to grasp and to understand, but this is happening. But I was also talking to people in the army around Kharkiv, and I was asking, like, are you holding up? And they said, like, yeah, of course we are holding up. We are not surrendering. And the Russian troops are actually extremely demotivated. Russian troops are extremely scared, and there are lots of cases when Russian soldiers, after seeing what happened to the first troops that entered, and almost all of them have been killed or captured by Ukrainian army, the other troops, other soldiers are just refusing to go in because they don't want to be killed for nothing.
I just want to ask you a question that a lot of people in international media have been asking about. Now, Russia claims that it is only going after military installations and military targets, but there have been reports of residential buildings, even kindergartens, coming under attack. Can you tell us as to what exactly are the targets that Russia has been trying to take out with the missile strikes on large cities such as Kiev and Kharkiv and some of the other cities? Are civilian targets even on the radar of the Russians?
Yes. So initially, the first night when we heard the explosions, we didn't know where that was taking place, but apparently they were indeed trying to hit the military targets. Right now, this is not the case anymore because, to begin with, Russian missile launchers are not very precise. So even if they want to hit just military targets, they cannot make sure that that is what they will hit because their ammunition is pretty old. So it's not extremely precise. So with that, it automatically endangers the civilian targets. But during the last night, they were just shooting in Kiev. There is no way you would claim that you are just shooting missiles in the 4 million people city and not targeting civilian targets. We did have several hits on the residential buildings, one the night before and one yesterday morning, and we are 9:50 in the morning of Sunday here in Ukraine right now. So they did hit it was a 25-storied residential building with a missile yesterday. They did hit, and that broke my heart. The first day of the attack, they did hit an orphanage near Kiev, in Kiev Oblast. They did hit a kindergarten on the east. And then, of course, their infiltrators are on the streets of Kiev. That means they're shooting around the city. They're shooting, and there are no military targets around the city. They're just shooting at regular people.
I want to elaborate, Ms. Sovsun, on the infiltrators, because this seems to be a bit of an enigma. These infiltrators, does the Ukrainian intelligence know as to how many of these infiltrators have already managed to get into your cities? When did they come in? Did they come in the last few weeks, or did they come in since the hostilities began?
From what we understand now, there were two approaches. Yesterday, during daytime, we did receive some information, and we were asked to spread this information among people who are dealing with rent. So I have a friend who is in this business, and she would spread that around her circles. Like, if you helped someone to rent an apartment in Kiev or in any other city within the last couple of weeks, and they sound like they are Russians, please let us know. So, because apparently some of those people were relocated to Ukraine a few weeks before. So we were trying to find information from people who are in this business, like whom did you help to find the housing. And that is just the level of self-organization for you to understand, right? So people were actually sending this information to the military, like, okay, there was these two men who asked me to help them rent an apartment in Kiev. Please double check who those people are. But then there are also people who are entering Kiev from different sides in smaller groups right now as of things are developing, and they are trying to enter the city and to create chaos and mess here. So both options are here. Some of them were infiltrated before. Some of them are just entering the city right now. And what needs to be understood, and that is, well, in case someone from the Russian audience is listening to this, or in case you can, somehow convey this message to the Russian audience, particularly to the mothers and fathers of those soldiers currently involved in Ukraine, all of those infiltrators are being killed on the Ukrainian streets. They are not well prepared, they are not very well equipped, and they're completely demotivated as to what they're doing. So if Russian parents of the soldiers are listening to this, just make sure your children leave Ukraine right now, otherwise they would simply be killed by Ukrainian army. And I will have no empathy for them, I'm sorry.
And also, Ms. Sovsun, people who are watching this war unfold in Ukraine, some of the scenes that have shocked a lot of people is how members of parliament like yourself, because we've seen other members of parliament who've also spoken with the media, and some of them have also taken up arms, saying that they will defend their country till their last breath. Generally for people who've not experienced war, this is really baffling. But in the middle of a conflict zone, what I want to know is how many members of parliament have in fact taken up arms individually? Because you mentioned that your father, who is a veteran in the Afghan war, he also has in fact signed up to defend the city of Kiev.
Yes, so my dad did sign up. He is sick, but he said, like, I can't walk, I will crawl. I will do everything I can to defend the city of Kiev. But my boyfriend is with the army. I myself at this point of time doing basically I was trained to do it through my life before. At this point of time, I think I'm most useful in explaining to the international audience what is happening here. But I was provided with an assault rifle. And in case, if needs be, I will join those patrolling the streets as well, because I am not leaving, I'm not surrendering. And then I'm also seeing lots of members of parliament. I will not disclose the exact number, and I don't actually know the number. I just know that some of the people who are from the parliament who are now joining the territorial defense. And those are like some of the people, trust me, I am representing, just for the Indian audience to understand, I am representing an opposition party. We are typically criticizing the government and the president so much, like all the time. We disagree on so many things. But right now, so obviously we also criticize the government party of servant of the people. And we were very skeptical about them and vice versa. But right now I'm seeing some of the members of parliament with whom we were having huge political fights, but right now they're signing up for territorial defense, and they're getting my huge respect, because we disagree politically, but right now everyone is just staying here and making sure that Kiev is safe. Some MPs are left for their hometowns when they're staying with their constituency, which is also to be respected. But just for you to understand, we are not divided in this. We are extremely united. I can actually say that the only MPs who actually left the country are the members of pro-Russian political party. They have all left, and as hypocritical as it is, they have all left for the West. They didn't go to Mother Russia. They all went to the Western Europe, which they criticize so much, and they claim that they love Russia. But for some reason, as soon as it started, they have all left for the West. But the rest of the MPs who are staying here, they're all trying to find ways of being useful in any way possible, in any way they can. And trust me, like I wouldn't disclose the name, but one of the fellow members of parliament with whom we were having such huge debates, we were just rather friendly, but we were disagreeing on so many things. And yesterday I just saw his message on social media saying that, okay, I'm patrolling the streets in this area in Kiev, everything is safe and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, kudos to that. That's a great job. We shall continue our debate after the victory. But right now, it's just I'm amazed with what people are doing here in Ukraine.
Absolutely. Now, in any war, it is children who are the worst affected. We've seen visuals of young children huddled in war bunkers. What I want to ask you is, considering the population of Ukraine and also the manner in which these missile strikes have taken place, it was, some of your most populated cities. Do all people in places like Kiev and Kharkiv and other cities, do they have access to these war bunkers, or do they need to go to some neighboring areas like metro stations, which are deep underground, and then take refuge there?
So it's like that. Lots of families have moved their children to the west of Ukraine. Some of them are moving to Poland just to make sure their kids are safe. My son is on the west of Ukraine. I relocated him, well, not me, but his dad relocated him in the first day of an attack. So I actually can, well, on a personal note, I can feel safe for him. So I don't have to worry about his safety, and I can work like 20 hours a day without worrying for his safety. But lots of families with children are actually staying here in Kiev. They are spending nights in bomb shelters or in underground stations. That is true. And this is heartbreaking for me to watch, trust me. The kids, I just saw panic attacks in the eyes of some of the kids who I just start shaking, they start crying, they feel like they will vomit right now because they're so scared, they don't understand what is happening. Mm-hmm. We did have also, unfortunate to say, casualties among children. We had 6 children killed by the Russians in different circumstances. The Russians hit an orphanage near Kiev, which is just, they will have to pay for that in a criminal court of justice at some point of time. But they hit a kindergarten on the first day of an attack when for some reason we still thought it is safe to take kids to the kindergarten. That was on the east of Ukraine, because in Kiev, they were not functioning for a couple of days now. And so kids are very much scared, but grown-ups are doing everything they can to support them. I saw a video of someone arranging for a screen in the underground station, mm-hmm. and they are showing some movies for kids over there. So they put the blankets on the floor, and the children are sitting there and just watching the movie. And that is just amazing. People just were caring about those kids so much that they arranged for this with what they had. Like, they couldn't provide safe and comfortable beds, but they at least try to distract kids with letting them watch those cartoons so that they are not feeling so endangered, and they can concentrate on something else. Right. But again, many families have relocated their kids to the west of Ukraine and to Poland. We all hope they will be able to come back home very soon, but there are still tens of thousands of children here in Kiev, as well as in Kharkiv, who are still staying here. Mm-hmm. Before, we had about 300,000 kids in Kiev. Mm-hmm. I don't know the exact number about how many of them left or stayed, but it's still like thousands of kids who are here in Kiev, hiding in bomb shelters. As I don't remember if I mentioned that, but the curfew hour was imposed starting last night. Mm-hmm. It will continue through the day up until Monday morning. Correct. So people had to leave to the bomb shelters, and they're staying there for the whole day up until tomorrow morning. And then we shall see how it will proceed, because we don't know what will happen tomorrow. And they're staying there with their families. Yes. Right. And also, I need to ask you this, because according to reports that have come in, Russia is said to have gone about very systematically trying to take down the critical infrastructure of Ukraine to, in somehow take away the ability of the people of Ukraine to put up some resistance. We've heard of reports of Russia taking over a hydropower station in the southern part of the country, and also a gas pipeline has also been targeted. Tell us a little bit about
have people in Ukraine at this point of time have been impacted? Do they have power throughout, or has that been disrupted? And also supplies, the question of adequate access to food, medicines and water, has that been disrupted?
So the Russians have indeed been trying to hit the critical infrastructure. Yesterday, one of the actually big explosions that we could hear when the house started trembling and all was an explosion on the south of Kiev, where they hit the oil refinery. And we could see the sky all blaring because of the huge fire over there. They were trying to hit the gas transit system, but from what I saw, messages from the gas transit system operator in the morning, they didn't hit them, or they didn't do lots of damage. So as of now, people do have power, people do have electricity, people do have water. So it's not cut off, but again, if you are in a shelter, then it's different. But people were getting water with themselves when they were relocating to the shelters or to the underground stations. Food supplies are getting short, so there are no food supplies to the supermarkets, and the majority of the supermarkets are clearly closed right now. But that is being dealt with. What I'm seeing is there is some, many things happening with making sure that food is supplied to the Ukrainians. But of course, everyone does have lots of food left at home. Like you have some food that you buy in advance. So people are not starving. And I believe that food supplies will be renewed, Monday, Tuesday, for Kiev. So people are not starving, people have electricity, people have light, people are just hiding in shelters and staying there. So that is not very, not very comfortable, to say the least.
Right.
But they didn't manage to shut down any of the critical infrastructure that would affect people's lives directly as of now.
I also want to talk to you a little bit about, what Ukraine's strategy will be from here on. There are reports that have come in that Ukraine has rejected Russia's offer for talks in Belarus, in Minsk, in Belarus, because Ukraine sees Belarus as a nation that is complicit in this invasion that Russia has carried out. The question I want to ask you, as a member of parliament, on what terms would Ukraine want to negotiate with the Russians?
So we indeed did not agree to their suggestions of, what they call the peace talks, because they basically said this, that we are willing to negotiate as long as you surrender. Mm-hmm. That was their condition. So those were not peace negotiations, those were negotiations of Ukraine surrendering. That was not going to happen. We would have never agreed to that. Not after what they did. We are not giving up. So that was unacceptable. So it was not so much about the very fact that they suggested to conduct those negotiations, those talks in Minsk, as the conditions for those talks that were unacceptable to Ukraine, particularly because, primarily because it is just unacceptable for us overall, but also because we're kicking their asses here. So it's not like we are losing, we are actually winning. The Ukrainian army is actually stronger right now than the Russian army. We are actually kicking their asses. So they are scared to hear. They are running out of supplies. Their soldiers are running out of food. Their soldiers are being killed in great numbers. So we have no, even militarily speaking, we have no reason to surrender. So the strategy right now is just to kick them out of the country. That is the only thing that we can do. And Ukrainian army is doing its best to make sure this is happening. It would be done faster, sooner, and with less casualties on the Ukrainian side, with the stronger Western support. So what we are asking now from the international audience is please do support Ukraine. We are willing to fight. We do understand you will not put your boots on the ground, but we do have enough of manpower here to defeat the Russians. We are asking you for ammunition to our soldiers. We are asking you for full-scale sanctions against Russia. Russia needs to understand that it cannot just start bombing another country just because it wants to, with no good reason, without any threat from our side. We have never threatened Russia ever in the last 30 years of our independence. but they just decided that they don't like the very fact that we exist as an independent state, and that is why they can bomb our capital and they can bomb our cities. That is unacceptable. They should be punished for that, so that no one else allows themselves to do the same. So we are asking for full trade embargo with Russia, because any trade with Russia right now, buying oil from Russia right now, is giving money to the Russian government to buy weapons with which they will continue to kill Ukrainian children. So that is something that we're asking of the international community to help with, because we, as I said, we are willing to fight. We are not giving up. We are actually kicking them very hardly here. They're all scared and terrified and don't know what to do. But we are asking to make sure that Russia is just running out of money and running out of political support from this damn war, so that they will surrender faster.
All right, that's a very optimistic view in terms of the resistance that the people of Ukraine have put forth so far. You know, another question that I need to ask you is, in terms of Russia's ability to carry out missile strikes and also bombings that we witnessed right from day one, has Ukraine, do you think, been able to blunt some of the air superiority that Russia had in fact established right from the beginning of the battle?
Russia does and indeed have a larger air fleet. But we also hit many of their targets. So we have taken down, from what I understand as of now, 17 Russian planes, and the same numbers for helicopters. So Ukrainian army, Ukrainian counter-air defense systems have actually worked, which we were not so sure about. So we did have our doubts as to whether that will be, whether that will work, because we did understand Russia does have superiority in the sky, but they actually failed to use that superiority to their advantage. So they were bad at strategizing. They were bad at understanding the situation on the ground. So again, 17 Russian planes have been taken down. Some of those planes were actually carrying Russian troops. So what their plan was, they were planning to take over those smaller military airports and to land troops on those airports north of Kiev, and then enter with those troops in Kiev. And why Blitzkrieg plan failed was because they failed to capture the airport, and they failed to land on the ground with their airplanes. And again, some of those airplanes with Russian troops have been shot down by Ukrainian counter-air defense systems. Well, as of now, they are not winning in the air either. That is what I can say for the time being. But of course, and that's probably the third and biggest ask from Ukrainian side right now is to help us establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Because we are fighting on the ground as hard as we can, and Russian will never win on the ground here in Ukraine, but we do need support from the air. And we are asking the whole civilized world, who does understand the atrocities of what is happening here in Ukraine, is to provide us with no-fly zone. And then we shall just kick them out of Ukraine for good. So no-fly zone is extremely important right now to make sure that they stop bombing the cities at night or during the daytime, whatever. And then in this fair game, in a fair war, we shall actually be able to win. Because the Russians, Ukrainian side, we need to make sure that we are safe from the air strikes, which is hitting the civilian population here, and at the same time fight them on the ground. We are not hitting back. We are not hitting Russian civilian targets. But we did hit one of the airports, though, which was, I think, again, they didn't envision in their strategy. So we did hit one of the airports, which I think also prevented some of their plans being realized fully. So yeah, this is the situation on the ground. Please convey the message that we are asking for no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Ms. Sovsun, it's in fact difficult to see as to, how the West, of course, would agree to that, because a no-fly zone, the talk of a no-fly zone by Ukraine has been ongoing for quite some time. But the Western nations, especially the United States and other NATO nations, have said that that would put them in direct confrontation with Russia. Are you disappointed with the response of the United States and other NATO members in how they've helped Ukraine so far? Because when push comes to shove, Ukraine virtually is on its own in having to deal with the Russian onslaught.
Well, we are disappointed. I would say that particularly day 2 into the attack, I was feeling this extreme anger, frankly speaking, towards our allies. I was thinking that I don't want to hear, we are concerned, our prayers are with you, our words of solidarity are with the Ukrainian people from a single one Western leader who refuses to provide weapon to Ukraine. So I was feeling this like so much, like I don't want to hear you are concerned. I don't want to hear that you are praying for Ukraine. I want to hear that you are willing to provide us with weapons. I want to hear that you are willing to impose toughest sanctions possible onto Russia. And I want to hear that you are willing to impose the no-fly zone over Ukraine. So right now, I think this feeling is slightly different because, well, at least the West has agreed to cut Russia off from SWIFT, which was one of the major demands that we were voicing. But no-fly zone, of course, is problematic. But I will tell you this: if Russia is not stopped here in Ukraine, they will proceed to other countries. And that is something that the whole world needs to understand. They will proceed. They have already claimed that they want Poland, Hungary, and other Eastern European countries out of NATO. Russian spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that Finland should really be very careful and consider its relations with different blocs. Finland is a neutral state right now, but the Russians basically said like that Finland is in danger as well. So there is no reason Russia will stop if and I don't believe this is going to happen, but if it will, win here in Ukraine. That's not going to happen, but just for the whole world to understand, if Russia destroys the whole of Ukraine and takes over us, they will proceed further. So right now, protecting Ukraine and supporting Ukraine is actually not just about Ukraine, but also about the whole world. So I do think that it's unavoidable. I do think that Russia wants conflict with NATO. And the question is just whether they will be strong enough to do so. So right now they are weak, their army is disorganized, and we can just finish this faster if we establish a no-fly zone.
Ms. Sovsun, my final question to you is, I know it's difficult to in fact foresee as to how all of this, of course, is going to end, but one day it will have to. The question that I want to ask you is, under what terms would Ukraine want to now negotiate with Russians to establish peace?
When they're out of Ukraine. That's as simple as that. We want them out of Ukraine for good. We are not stopping anything else. It just makes no sense. After everything that happened, after them bombing our cities, we just need them out of the country. And then we shall just close down this part of the story, and we shall proceed in our life independently, and they will figure out what they do next. But we are not willing to surrender. There is nothing they can offer to us except for full surrender on their side that we shall agree upon. The level of anger here in Ukraine is so big against them. Ukrainian people who have been somewhat divided in their attitude towards NATO, towards Russia, and so on, they are all so much united right now. I'm getting messages from some of my friends, and they're saying like, so there was this guy who was actually very supportive of Russia, and then he was saying that, oh, Russians are our friends, they will live together so much, we are, the Slavic people, and so on and so forth. And today this guy is signing up for territorial defense to fight against Russians. So right. this theme of the very fact that Russia invaded Ukraine, that has made our geopolitical future extremely clear here in Ukraine. So we are only now, the question is only when that will happen. So we are not surrendering, we are not agreeing to anything else than just them getting out of our country.
Ms. Inna Sovsun, Member of Parliament from Ukraine, thank you very much indeed for taking time out and speaking to us, and also telling us what life is like in the war zone that Ukraine has become. And hopefully all of this, of course, ends very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.